Hi, my name is Ryan Lane, and welcome to my review channel. So for today's movie, I will be reviewing Big George Foreman, directed by George Tillman Jr. and starring Chris Davis, Jasmine Matthews, John Magaro, and Sullivan Jones. Anyway, this film tells the story of, well, appropriately enough, George Foreman, played by Chris Davis. Anyway, he is a Texan who lives in dirt poverty with his mother and his siblings. So, being teased for his poverty in school, he decides to get even with his bullies, and it is implied that because of this, he ends up becoming a dropout. And so, seeing as how the only job opportunities available to make money for dropouts are, beating people up and stealing their money when they drunkenly walk out of bars, Foreman decides that he wants to actually make some good dough and decides to join the Job Corps. This ends up triggering a cascading series of events in which he will win, lose, and then win again the heavyweight championship of the world. So, this film is not good, and much of that can be attributed to the screenplay. So, the film is overall very rushed, and this is in part due to the very unwise decision to cram 30 plus years worth of George Foreman's life into a 2 hour movie. Like, just any given segment of this film would have made for a good mini series. Like, I'm talking HBO 8 episodes of nearly an hour long each type miniseries, and it decides to cram so much content that it doesn't leave much room for character growth. And so because of this, many of the relations between the characters are rushed and inorganic, which causes attempts at pathos later on in the film to fall flat on their face. Plus, I think one of the biggest examples of this is with regards to George Foreman's relationship with his first wife. As in, he goes from a meet cute with his first wife to, why haven't you signed the divorce papers yet? All within a span of like 15 minutes. It's just too fast. You never really get to feel the relationship organically evolve. And pretty much that same can be said for many of the other relations between characters as well in this film. The screenplay also takes a shallow approach to the George Foreman character itself and fails to glean any interesting insight about the character. So the screenplay tries to interrogate, well, maybe not even interrogate, more like explore his views on race and religion, but it doesn't do so in an interesting or compelling manner. It takes a rather preachy approach to his views on race and an extremely heavy-handed approach to his views on religion. Like, he is consistently hated upon by his mother for not being a hyper-religious man. It's, very judgy and not compelling at all. And the script telegraphs major plot points coming from a mile away. Like, at one point, George Foreman's accountant and fellow friend from the Job Corps proclaims that he has invested his money in quote-unquote rock-solid stocks. And if you think what happens next does happen, you would be right. The performances in this film are weak, with Chris Davis in particular failing to step up to the plate as the titular boxer. He never really was convincing as a sweet man with major rage issues. He just came off as someone pretending to have rage issues. Plus, the supporting cast doesn't fare much better either. Outside of Forrest Whitaker, all the other character actors are given thin material to work with, and so because of this, their performances reflect as such and come off as one-dimensional and even cartoony at times. The Muhammad Ali character, as portrayed by Sullivan Jones, is particularly hard to watch, as it seems that the screenwriters decided to substitute Muhammad Ali-style quips in favor of an actual character. So Sullivan Jones, having no other option but to play a cartoony version of Muhammad Ali, just fails to compel. So the boxing matches are shot decently enough, I guess, but they never engaged me on an emotional level, and I'm not entirely sure what, but I think it's due to mainly two things: the sound design and the cinematography. Those two things never really managed to make me fear for the boxers' lives, and they never really sell the hits. Like, every punch sort of sounds the same, even when the commentators are heavy handedly and not very interestingly commenting on the matches themselves. A hard punch doesn't sound much different from a quote unquote soft punch. And so because of that, I never really found the boxing matches themselves interesting. Like, you don't necessarily gotta go all hyper stylized a la Creed 3, but I mean, I feel like this film sort of failed to nail the basics of a cinematic boxing match. So, due to shallow and overly simplistic storytelling, Big George Foreman fails to glean interesting insights about the larger than life boxer. So, with all that in mind, I will be giving Big George Foreman 1.5 out of 5 stars. Anyway, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. If you like this review and would like to see more like it, be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. And for today's comment section prompt of the day, what is your favorite boxing movie and why?